Well, we can talk more about this now with Jamal Hassan, who you saw there in Kenya. Also with us, Rhoda Ibrahim, a Somali single mother who works with other British Somali mums, and Awale Elmi, who came to the UK from Somaliland as a child and now runs community organisation Rise Projects. Welcome all of you. Thank you very much. And Awale, I know that you also research crime amongst Somalis. Why do you think this has become such an issue?
Well, obviously, as we saw in the video, reports that were produced by the BBC this year showed 100 people were stabbed in the UK, and 8 of those were from the Somali community. Now, the general population of the Somali community is less than 1%, so clearly there's a huge disproportionality when it comes to the Somali community, but also there are other issues as well. For example, a lot of young people are carrying knives because of defensive reasons. A lot of them have had a lot of adverse childhood experiences. There's also a lot of issues around drug dealing and antisocial behaviour that needs to be addressed.
But what is it specifically about the Somali community that is making it be affected in this particular way?
I mean, as you know, knife crime isn't just something that specifically happens to the Somali community. It happens across the UK, as we've seen over the last couple of years, but more so in the Somali community we've seen a large number of young people who've been stabbed, and this is largely a result of what's been known as the schools to prison pipeline, where a lot of young Somali people are being excluded from schools. They're having a lot of contact with the criminal justice system early on. They're joining and they're gangs, for example, and they're also being groomed as well, and that's one of the results of the shocking stats that we've seen.
And so, Rhoda, as we were hearing in our report, the stance that a lot of parents are taking is to decide that it's obviously a risk if you're sending your child to live in another country, because you're then not directly with them, but it's a better option than having them here.
Definitely, yes. Most parents and Muslim moms really are the ones who are, in the end of the day, has to pick up the pieces from both sides. Those who are stabbed and those who stabbed even to someone, and they cannot deal with it for so many reasons in here. First, because they don't speak much of English, and they have got a large family, and they feel sending them, really, those who can afford, is really could be one of the solutions. They saw it one of the solutions, that at least they can sleep in the night and not worry about it. Because in the video, I think it was Jamal that said they can't sleep. When you hear the siren, either it's the police or the ambulance who are telling you. So in order to save the younger ones, really, they have to send those who are in trouble back home.
So as long as there are sirens outside and a mother is hearing them, it's going to make that mother worry, and you're saying it's better in that context to send a child away.
Yeah, there's a problem of integration in here as well, because Somali community are one of the youngest communities in here who came here as refugees, and there's a huge integration problem that we are facing now, and still facing actually, and it's their time. So it's a solution, temporary solution. It's not actually permanent. It's a solution to actually take them out for a period until the child becomes mature enough.
And Jamal, you were sent back, weren't you? And we were hearing in our report one person saying it feels like you're going to prison and your mum is the judge. How did it feel to you when you were sent back? How long were you sent back for?
I was only sent back for a few months.
Right.
But in my case, it's a bit different, and this is what I encourage the families. If you decide to send your child back, make sure it's willingly. You sit down with them and talk to them and make them understand that it's better for you to go to Africa to see what we escaped, so you understand the opportunities that you have here in the UK. So in my case, I spoke with my parents. They said, look, there's problems happening in and around your life. Let's go to Africa, see your family, see your cousins, extended family, see what they're going through, and then you can decide, what you want to do with your life when you come back to the UK. However, what other families do, which I really discourage, is taking the child and saying to them, look, you're going on holiday, and just leaving the child there or dumping them there. Because what happens is that child, although he's left crime in the UK, he feels some sort of neglect from those that love him.
So that sets a whole host of other problems in train.
Yeah.
How often is that happening?
It's very difficult to say because I don't think research has been done. But as Rakia Ismail said, that with every 5 families, I think 2 are sending their children back. But what's also important to note here is the fact that, you know, is it safer to keep them here, or is it better to force them and preserve life? That's a decision the family has to make.
So not easy decisions, Rhoda, but I mean, how much do you think, how many conversations are happening in the way that Jamal says they should be, so that a child being sent away absolutely understands what the reasoning is?
As a frontline organization, actually SAFI, when parents come to us a lot of times for advice, it's always sending back, coming over and over again instead of finding a solution in here, because there isn't many systems really that can support when the parents are facing really that problem. They just think, so it comes back a lot. It's top of the discussion always, sending back. And it is those who have really the money to send back with, and maybe somewhere to send to.
How much of a solution is it, Awali? Do the kids come, I mean, do all kids come back, and do they all come back changed?
I mean, going back to Africa, in Somalia and in other parts of East Africa, it's obviously had a very good impact on a lot of the young people who go there. They learn a sense of culture, they come back understanding, you know, that they've had a good opportunity to be here in the UK, where there are a lot of privileges such as education, you know, work, and all these different things, which doesn't necessarily happen, or those opportunities might not necessarily be in East Africa. But in terms of the long-term solutions, I think we also need to consider why these things are happening, and I think a lot of local authorities and also statutory service providers need to engage the Somali community better.
Jamal, just very briefly, I mean, in the long term, is this an answer when it comes to issues around integration? I mean, it's sending a problem away, but is it really dealing with it?
Again, it's very difficult to say, but however, I do think it is better, or it is important to send your kids back. The reason being is because if we look at other families from different walks of life, their kids travel to different parts of the world to study, exchange students, or they go traveling around the world. So that traveling broadens your sort of knowledge, and you appreciate life when you're outside. So in terms of Somali adults or young people, I think it is important to send them back to show them who they are, so they can learn about their identity. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, it has to be done correctly, it has to be done willingly, and both parties need to agree on going back.
Thank you all very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.